Hello and welcome. Today is Friday, 3rd day of November 2017. My name is Derek and hashtag crypto trading video, everything you do within your own risk, own reward. We're going to take a look at Bitcoin, Komodo, Sync, Bella, GRS, and VTC. Daily chart for Bitcoin. Everything you do, your own risk, own reward. But you know what? That goes without saying because obviously, if you make any type of wagers and it happens to lose, well, you're going to take the loss. And if you take any wagers that happens to win, you're going to take the gains. That's exactly what this game is all about. And as I mentioned in the 2.5 minute warning with Bitcoin, 4 consecutive up days, and the market's overextended. Just like it was overextended when it broke this resistance and it only went sideways. There was a small correction down towards here, and here in the overextended period it went well below the 18 average of lows. So it has remained in this uptrend since it neutralized it on September the 23rd, and when it broke out of the 18 average of highs on the 27th of September, it has been, of course, in that up mode. So the entire month of October and a few days extra, close to 40 days in an uptrend. And it will stay in such until it is. And as long as there's people still willing to be buying at these prices, and there is not any major overload of people wanting to sell and at this price variable, you're talking about selling for profits, then yes, it will go up, but it will keep on going up until it won't. And there will be good price corrections. And the higher it goes up, the larger the price corrections have to be within the nature of this game. As we see right now, one previous level you'd be looking to come back to in annual retracements between 5,700 and 61 and change, even 62. Breaking below that, we're looking at 4,500 upwards to about 5,000. But again, if it keeps going up, now I got 8,000 up on here because I talked about before how this thing could make its move towards such. When we take a look at this on the weekly time frame, each move, as I calculated from each key level, would signify that it should go to such. And I was looking at, I think, from the 3,000 low for a better than a 2.5 times gain, something in that area. So I'm still going to be looking out for 8,000. But as I see it, 8,000 on this line within the weekly chart is just a small differential in time. On the 2 week chart, it's like obviously not much all in this thing ever since it broke out of its 18 average highs on the 2 week chart on October of 2015, so a little over 2 years. It has remained in the uptrend, and this is the best it has ever done within the uptrend in extending the 18 average of highs. It started such on March the 27th when it had the huge liftoff spanning 5 to 6 periods, another 3 to pull back. Then this liftoff, which is now spanned in total 4, 5, 6, but 8 periods with one correction along the way. Major move higher, back to the 18 highs. Major move higher, back to the 18 highs. And now it's been a major move lower. And what's interesting with Bitcoin is on the 2 week chart, it's correcting the 18 average of highs. On the weekly chart, it's correcting the 18 average of lows. And on the I did a 3 day chart earlier. That's the one that I'm thinking of. On the 3 day chart, it's piercing it every time. So there we have 3 day below it, 3 day below it. So we'll see how well this trend will maintain as it moves further. So let's move on to some alternate coins. As I mentioned, we're going to talk about Bella, SYNX, Komodo, GRS, and VTC. We'll start it within Bella. I think, where did I? Interesting. I'm just getting used to this. So I'm going to have to type it in. But it's something I want to talk about. Down a lot when I look at this on a long-term time frame. Whether this is a literal failure, it's very tough to say. A lot of these things have been selling off very harshly. And a 10x move down in this nature of this business, so be it. That's how a lot of this has been working. And in a situation, does this thing have the potential, even in a failure coin, to even make it up towards maybe up in this 5,000 area, up towards even 6,000? And if so, that's a 3 to 4 times gain, and even further if it can go much lower, say to 1,000, which is a psychological even number. Now, what I do find interesting about the blockchain, it seems to be very, very slow. As I sent a transfer from on the, and it's got yesterday. I did a transfer. I'm waiting for 20 confirmations, and as of earlier this morning, or 18 or so hours later, I have 8 of 20 confirmations. And I've seen some little bits of problems within that here and there. I really don't follow too much of all these fundamentals. I don't get involved in ICOs, and I've really only used stuff like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dash as money. But I see how I could use something like Bella as money, because I could transfer it to anybody if they want it in that sense. And although it might take you a long time to get it, but you could definitely get it. And yeah, so let's take this off the log scale, because this thing was trading back in the day at such very low prices. 10, 12, 20, 60 satoshi. And then in its early infancy days, it had these types of wild, profitable moves if you could swing trade this. I mean, you're not going to get this again. Not on this code anyway. But are we capable of getting wild moves comparable to what we did earlier this year? And we've seen a lot of the cryptos have the big moves. Now let's follow the money. It took how long to go from low to high? From January 25th, which was a breakout low of just a little lower from where it is now, it managed to reach its high in April. So that was a time mark of, well, what part of April? That would be early April. So 2.5 months to go from low to high. It has already been 7 months since this high. But furthermore, when we've seen this, it's an interesting strategy. And when I say this strategy, I think it's safest to do this with like 10, 20, 30 similar codes of this nature and play it all around the same way, where you buy at these lower prices, look to buy lower, especially put a buy order around 1,000 kind of deal. And then when you're looking for places to sell, 3x at 3,000, 5,000, 6,000. These are all potential gains that can happen fast, and we've seen so many of these large green candles to the upside. Markets move up faster than they go down. So it's not unforeseeable when this eventually does bottom. It's been down quite some time, but on the spot when it does, then it will probably do it a lot quicker. Now let's take a look at some examples here. Let's assume that it does bottom hypothetically now, or in the area of such. Even 1,000's in the area. And then it has its move. If it's had these types of moves, would it shock even just to go up to resistance of 8,000? It could even do better, but we'll just hypothetically say the 8,000 previous support becomes resistance, which could easily happen if this ends up failing in the next, say, couple years. And of course, if it succeeds, it's obviously a bargain. But the idea for this, however, is if you play it correctly, you can say to yourself, now how can I position myself to sell here, sell here, sell here? Or do I want to take the chance, buy, hold, wait on the way up, and then look to sell at this level? Of course, which strategy you're looking to do, it's always best to understand your strategy. Try to figure out how that your strategy is actually good, which can be done by mathematics and through experience, and then just execute it accordingly and try to improve it. But that's one area. And if you're thinking, okay, I'm going to buy it at 1,300 and sell at 8, If this thing is right 30-40% of the time, I'm going to profit huge. And mathematically, that is, you can prove that mathematically. But it's something, of course, of interesting note that a lot of these coins, of course, this is sync. Let's put this on log scale. We're talking about big moves. There's 40,000 up here in July. Now down to 4,700. So there's a 10x right there. A lot of these codes have it. We can see these highs. I don't got a pen I can draw this in, I don't think. Let me just see if I do. Something like that. A curvy line. Now, problem with this is it's okay, it's right up here. I'm looking for the place to delete it. And it's not deleting. Well, anyway, I'm going to forget that. I'm just going to forget that. So it's had this curvy line down. These two highs are matching highs. And then we've got this little thing happening now, where the previous period, and this is a 3-day time frame, but the previous period was going in this sideways consolidation, up higher, looking to try to break out, doing okay, but does it have any life? It shows to me it's got possibility. Let's take a look at this further, daily chart. Okay. Significant break. This is, again, what I'm talking about. At least from the 6,000 handle, where it broke down from on September the 27th. So over the whole month of October, and a few days again, and then it gets it all back in just these couple of days. Markets go down slower than they go up. Back in here, down and then up. So in this case, at least falling from here on August the 3rd, and then if it does 2 weeks going down, it gets it back in less than a day. So another way of pointing this out is the market fell on July 14th. Obviously, it's going to be at least November the 2nd as this bottom. So that is all of August, September, October. So 3.5 months. And it's going to go up faster than that. So if it's going to go up to this level here, you know what's going to happen. Well, if it goes down in 3.5 months, it's going to be, what, 3 weeks, 2 weeks to get up there? That's pretty much how I'm understanding the up and down movements of this market, 400-minute time frame, which is basically a third of a day. There's these wild moves. So you don't have to short it out just to get to here. So I might as well not even consider like a 4-hour. Even the 1 hour might be too long. And I'm going to have to shorten it. But you see here, there's this fast move that is just so wild. And the simple strategy with sell orders, setting them and forgetting them. If you have a lot of sell orders in, or you have the higher ones in, 31, you can see, let's say you have a lot of sell orders in. You have one at, say, 37, you have one at 4,000, you have one at 45, you have one at 49, 55, 58, 63, 60, whatever. All those other ones higher didn't hit. So you notice, maybe you logged onto your computer. Maybe you went out to your town, you logged back in here. And you see seller, 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 seller like crazy. It's like, wow. And then myself, if I were to see, say, 5 sell orders come in, and the price action was at 39, most likely 1 or 2 of them, again, would be lower than this price or around that price. 3 or so would be significantly higher. I'd probably buy a portion of what I sold above now. Probably put a buy order down in here that would have got hit. But we look at this. You got the sell order opportunity back down lower. Up in here just recently, if you were able to sell at, say, 5,400, if you're willing to play the short-term games, if you buy back at 5,000, you're looking at 8% movement. And if you're buying back at 47.50, you get a better movement and you would have hit. Let's shorten it out some further. But as far as the trend analysis is concerned, it is holding this 18 average really well. But let's see, 20 minutes area or so. So within this 20-minute time frame, again, here are these fast moves that are occurring. So how do we play this right now if you were in this situation? Well, it's not a bad time to consider being a buyer. And if you want to have, if you're looking at different strategies, where would you be placing sell orders? We're in a bull market right now. Do we think there's a reason why we should be resisting the 18 highs? If the answer is no, and quite frankly, at this stage, I wouldn't be doing such, and unless you wanted to try to buy back at, say, 48, and that's not a bad strategy as well. But let's assume you could, okay, let's try to sell at this high, but oh my goodness, you establish this high. Each time you're making higher lows, I think it's ready to break. I can put sell orders higher. So what I might do is maybe put a sell order at 56, and then this thing could have a potential to go big. So you have a sell order even in here at 75 and 88. You know, if it makes a move, it could do it in 4 hours the way this market moves. And the easiest way to be ready for it is to have a position and such. Now, I have a target line in here because that would be an interesting situation. I hope as a bull that it hits, but it doesn't hit for like 2 or 3 days or 4 days. Because if it does come back down to this level and into this previous congestion area fast, that is weak. That is very, very weak. So something else to look into. 17 minutes. Wow, I got a bunch of codes to go over. There's really not much to go over with KMD other than the basis of this move in here that has been consolidating. I'm not going to say well or poorly, but it's been consolidating within this band. It's one of those rangy seesaw moments that to me is signifying a big move to one side or the other. Of course, as I've talked about so much big levels, if you break down this support, you're probably looking at a good move from like 30 to 20. And definitely I would consider a huge fast green move up if this thing does any type of break near the 40 handle. I mean, this thing could probably hit 52, 56. Like, look at this green candle up, look at this green move up. These ones in here probably get an electrifying series of days that would take this up to some significant levels. We got GRS and VTC to go as well. So GRS, this thing, the 18 average of lows. I'm looking to be a buyer in and around this area in here. And we'll see how wild this volatility for such comes into play. But it's a situation in which it has given back already a decent amount of gains. Now, another way of looking at this is, oh man, this whole thing about buying on the way up, it would be so awesome if I actually had a bunch where I could sell in here, because obviously, if I sold on the way up in here, how would this have worked to my bankroll? Of course, anything I sold, say around 39, 38, 34, I just have to take that profits, and there's nothing to do about it unless this price falls way back lower later, and it may. But if I sold at 84 and I was on the ball, which meant I was able to buy in here, and 5,000 buy and an 8,000 sell, yeah, even if you bought at 6,000 and missed trying to buy at 4,000, then it worked out, because you buy at 6,000, you're like, oh, SHIT, it's going down, and I have to say it that way because of the thing going on with not suitable. And say you put your sell order in for 91. Ooh, it hit, but it kept going higher. But if you had other sell orders ready, say you had one at right around here at 13, maybe you get in here at 18. So 18 you can buy back at 12. 13 you probably would have bought back maybe around 8. So if you were to say just try the situation like this and you want to take this kind of risk, you just buy an okay amount. But you want to leave yourself more to buy back, and you want to buy less than you buy on your original amount. Because if you want to buy an original buy, you're going to want to sell some up here at about 19. And depending, you might want to sell up in these areas here. There's definitely nothing wrong with looking at the profit potential of selling at around, say, 9,000 and looking to buy back at around 7,000. That's about a 30% differential. That's very good profits, especially if you're quick within the game. And you have to be at those levels. But when you look at this on a longer term point of view, you want to have your sell orders in place for up in here at 20,000. If you think this thing could really go, we were at this area early in the summer. And now it came back. It would be huge if it could support where it is, this area where it came from, which to me is between 43 and where it is now, which is why this is a lower area. To me, the lower end of where I think would be good. It also matches right now with the 18 average of lows. But if it does that and manages to have that move, it could be pretty wild. Now, for what it's worth, I don't know how much I want to reference this. Other than the long term, you can see how the 2016 level was supported in here throughout all this year. But just use some whatever math that we want to use that'll work. This area is 20,000 satoshi. It's going to at least double that if it breaks it to a good move. 50,000, 60, 70 are realistic areas where you can focus on major extreme gains if you are a believer that it's going to break. And think of this with any code. Just look at the high and think mathematically, what's the best possible level? Because these things, like 2, 3, 4x gains are typical with a lot of these codes. Let's finish this off within BTC, and in its weekly time frame, it is now back to where it came from. The upper end of it, it's at the 18 average of highs on the weekly time frame. The 18 average of lows is set in around 20,000, which is 50% off. It's also a key area in here. So the highest area for where it came from is where it's at now. The more lower area would be towards 25,000. Again, these wild kind of movements, these markets move towards the same way. And when you see something like this, a market goes below the 18 average of lows like this, 1, 2, 3, 4 down days in a row, you could definitely have reason for concern, but it couldn't be much more than that, because I'm looking at point A to point B. And point A is one of these two lows you want to pick, somewhere around 20,000. And 20,000 is a better even number. So it goes from 20 to a hair under 100. And if it's under 20, that's about a 5x gain. It has given back some of those gains to the tune where it's still better than double from this support mark. If you're looking for one of the areas to fish for a bottom, as I would call it, the first area would be somewhere around this 18 average of lows, and you'd be better off waiting. However, in a strategy like this, say you buy here, you put a sell order up here. Maybe I might do. Or if you buy, whatever, you buy an okay amount. I wouldn't buy a large amount at this point, but you buy once here, you sell up here. Now you buy again, pretty much at this bottom, because it's this area here. So you bought at, say, 40. And now you can put a sell order maybe in about 60. Or if you think this is really going to go, you're like, I don't care about selling it all up here. I've already got a sell order here. I can now increase it. So instead of having a sell order in at, say, around 90, I can go for an aggressive play and maybe put a sell order in for 240 or 225. And now the next buy order I would put in would be somewhere around 25 handle. And then I would work it from there. And below that, I would think, okay, if I'm ready to go, if I think this thing is got the potential to go, even if it's in the choppy market, which is what the strategy thrives for, how many legs lower can I go before I would have enough. And why that's so important is because these things go so wildly. So if you can get yourself in an early position to be able to handle the risk, to be able to, well, you're buying now, put a buy order here, figure out what you're going to buy here, maybe at 14, how much you're going to buy at 8, and how much you're going to buy at 4. And you're like, okay, that can be handleable, because most of the time when you have these types of moves, they can work out. Say, for example, in here, you bought a buy order of 220. Maybe you put a buy order around 150, and that's all you bought. If you set them and forgot them, those sell orders obviously were in place to be taken in right now. All right, then. I will end this video. I will be putting out some premium content later on. What I've done this morning is I've went through the codes in which I'm going to cover, and I have counted so far about 130 codes just from the letter A to the letter Q. And I will continue to go through, so expect this to be the start of the following week, closer to Monday or Tuesday, as it would take several hours to go through this. But this is fun to do several times a year. Portfolio management, another one of those things that needs to be done. Now, of course, based on one situation, for me, when I'm looking to become a buyer into things, this is a more apt time to do such like this. So for me, this works out. What I'm going to do is just go through all of these different codes, analyze it, find the best that I can, and then find the best way of presenting the information. And that'll be available again in about 4 or so days. Have yourself a great day and a great weekend. Bye-bye.